Those of you who follow my channel may note that this game was on my top 5 of 2017 list. I promised that I would come back and post a review for this game, but as usual, life gets in the way. Not just writing for the game, but even finishing it. The game is divided into 4 chapters, and each chapter is fairly short, by video game standards. But they are long enough that the requirement to finish them in one sitting was difficult for me to accomplish. I've played all the chapters but the final one, and every time I sat down to finish the game, something pressing got in the way, and I had to start all the way over again, and once again would be cut short. But now, I have done it. Months later. Was it worth the wait? Is it still the game I would put on my list as one of the best I played this year or last year? Let's find out. The story of this game is a puzzle wrapped inside of an enigma. On the surface, the 4 chapters feel very disconnected, and like they're not even the same experience. But as you play, you will notice some threads that tie all the experiences together. Deciphering what they all mean does not take a degree in storytelling, but it has to be said that the end result is equal parts shocking and intriguing. It is a horror text-based game, much like the text adventure games we played on the internet when I was a baby. Except this time, you have to do some visual storytelling to go with it. This is my favorite type of horror experience though, the thinking kind. The kind where it is scary all in your head. The tell, don't show kind. The horror genre today is very much the exact opposite of this. I do not want to see blood and gore, but I do enjoy feeling some dread from time to time. This game scratches an itch that I didn't really even know that I had, and delivers superbly on its premise. It's not a happy ending by any stretch, but the conclusion of the journey are still somehow satisfying. In short, buckle in, turn down the lights and make sure you do not have epilepsy, and you should be in for a good scare. The game is at home in the past and the present, and while it does feel like it was made to a budget, it also feels like they made the absolute most with what they had at their disposal. The interface is amazing, and I love hearing the old keystrokes of the old computers. Everything in the presentation transports you to another time without any need for exposition. I knew early in the first chapter where I was. I was in a home in the 80s, probably somewhere in the UK, in an upstairs bedroom typing away on an old computer with a wood grain monitor. None of this is told to you, you just know. The wood grain TV, the tape deck computer, the wallpaper, everything shows off where you are flawlessly without the need for much exposition. Every other chapter pulls off the same trick, but to me, the best is the first chapter. In later chapters, you gain some freedom of movement in them, which was fine. I just missed the typing adventure aspect. The epilepsy warning is no joke, however, as in 2 later chapters, the lights and sound are very intense. But to recap, the presentation of every chapter is full of detail and is of high quality for the type of game that you're playing. He pulls off a very clever trick in feeling nostalgic but not dated. I will note that the influences of the show Stranger Things is fairly clear. It's hard to tell how this came to be other than chance, as both game and TV show were released around the same time, but it's clear and it's pretty obvious. Sound. 80s ambient sounds and music are the order of the day for this game. Not that I'm complaining. As a child of the 80s, I grew up hearing most of these noises, and each produced in me a pleasing, nostalgic response. The game also applied some sound to increase tension and produce some of the most acceptable jump scares I have endured. The voice acting is not bad either, all things considered. There's some profanity for those who have sensitive ears, but it's not common and mainly localized in a single chapter. However, it has to be said that in the 80s this was a common trope as well. Aside from the few
more colorful metaphors
they're put, nothing in this game is overly offensive in the sound department. Most of the sound quality was excellent, and its use to produce an enhanced experience, both nostalgic and terrifying, was excellent. So this game has 2 sides to it that I would like to discuss separately. First, I will talk about what I would like to call the at-rest controls. These are controls where the player is sitting at a desk. This is the majority of the game, and it feels both authentic and high quality. Some may complain about using the radio or the microfilm, but I was alive when those things were used, and have used both of them personally, and can tell you, as an old fogey, that they control better in the game than they do in real life. So personally, I appreciate the attention to detail provided with this experience, and to me it was well-rounded and just about perfect. Sure, sometimes a keystroke was missed, but that happens when I'm using, even when I'm typing this script. However, whenever you move around in the adventure mode, as I like to call it, this is, of course, any time you leave the desk and wander around, well, it's set up like most all PC adventure games from the 90s. You use the A, S, D, and W buttons. That's not bad per se, and many find it to be second nature, although I'm not in this category. What is bad is the collision in most of the environments. I came to a set of stairs in Chapter 3 that took me forever to climb down, and eventually I had to strafe down them because the collision was so bad. For me, I would have left these whole sections out, but I do understand why they're included, as when they work, they feel very immersive and enhance the story, but when they fail, they remove the immersion built so carefully. Now, the design I have absolutely no complaints for at all. The rich detail I have already praised, and every time you see a new screen, I'm just enamored by it. Even the walk-around segments are full of little Easter eggs if you can bring controls ordered to explore them. Everything feels lovingly and carefully crafted, yet vague enough when it needs to be to achieve the horror effect. The game uses physical design well to manipulate the player's emotions without the need for movement. That is a clever trick in today's landscape of game development. To be clear, I'm not a big fan of horror. Even in the late 80s, it was really not for me. But what I have always enjoyed is a scary book. I especially like it when the author crafts an environment vividly and with nothing but words, and uses my imagination to paint the grim horror of a situation. Video games are a good storytelling medium, and are superior in my opinion to film, because of the ability to take the best of what books do and blend them with the best of what films do. More than this achievement, though, I especially like stepping into this time portal to the past for a scary trip. The game brings out the full range of emotions for me, and I think it is mainly because I lived it in part. Everything felt so familiar, even when the game moved to outlandish locations, seeing the old radio like my dad used to have, or the microfilm machine that I used at the library. It felt a little like coming home, despite the terror. I think I'll be visiting again sometime very soon.